Hello everybody and welcome back to the Reddit Nights channel. My name is Anthony and today I'll be discussing a story regarding a mystery surrounding two personal items that you usually find in a bathroom. If you could do me a favor and like, comment, share, and subscribe to the video, it helps me become a better content creator. And if you click the bell notification, it'll make sure you stay up to date with every video that I post. And if you want to make the algorithm happy for me, watch some more of my previous videos. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. I try to put my all into these videos, and I hope that you, as an audience member, as a viewer, as a member of my community, I hope you enjoy it as much as I do making it. But enough of all the necessary shilling and promoting that I need to do for this channel. Let's get to the story. And this story is from Capable Elephant 6355, and it was posted on the r/true off my chest subreddit. And the story is called 2 tampons mean my marriage is over. And this is posted on September the 2nd, 2023. I, 29F, have been with my husband, 30M, for 7 years, married for 4. I've never had a reason to suspect he was unfaithful to me or even remotely dissatisfied with our marriage. He likes to joke that we're still living in the, quote, honeymoon phase, unquote, nearly 5 years and 2 kids in. I wouldn't have questioned that, or him, were it not for a surprise I found in his car last month. When buckling our daughter into her car seat, I noticed something slotted between the cushions. I pulled it out and saw that it was a tampon. This wouldn't have been so unusual had I not had an IUD that has stopped my period for the past year, and I didn't even recognize the wrapper style. I brought it to my husband's attention, and he didn't seem to understand what it was, let alone why I was holding it, until I told him where I'd found it and why I was almost certain it wasn't mine. He shrugged and said it probably belonged to his co-worker Fiona. It's not uncommon for my husband to carpool to lunch with his coworkers, and we're both fairly close to Fiona and her husband, so I figured it was entirely possible the tampon had slipped out of her purse whenever he had driven them or offered her a ride. No big deal. I put it out of my mind until we had dinner with Fiona and her husband a couple weeks later. I had sincerely wanted to believe my husband. I just couldn't get over the way it had been tucked in the seat and how my husband has seemed not to have any regard for it whatsoever. Maybe playing dumb. I don't know. I did something that I now feel kind of crazy for doing. I faked an emergency and asked Fiona if she had any tampons while we were out together. She handed me one almost identical to the tampon I found in our back seat, and I breathed a sigh of relief. So the tampon was probably the same tampon here, and in all likelihood, it was an innocent explanation as to why it had been left in the back seat in the first place. I thought I'd seen the last of the out-of-place feminine hygiene products until I found another tampon this morning, this time in my sock drawer. I feel physically ill at the thought of my husband having an affair, and even more nauseated at the thought that the woman might have left these tampons out for me to find. If it was my husband's coworker, why would she give herself away by offering me one the other night? In any other situation, I would want to talk to my husband about this, but I feel too sick and embarrassed to approach him with what I found. What should I do? Wow. Oh, we got ourselves a mystery here, folks. The fact that the OP's friend was like, yeah, sure, I got tampons, and didn't think anything of it, almost seemed like, hey, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just trying to be helpful. But now it's like, wait, nothing has been confirmed, but the placement of that tampon inside the sock drawer of all places is definitely awkward and really brings up a lot of questions. And I'm hoping that OP's friend is not cheating with her husband. I've read a lot of stories like this when it comes to people cheating, and the optimism in me is hoping that this is not another one of the same type of, oh hey, I made a mistake and now it leads to you realizing I've been sleeping with your husband. Like, I'm really hoping it's not like this. But there are some relevant comments. Someone commented, I've had a period 30 years and never put a tampon in a sock drawer. Trust your gut and get cameras. That was a pretty good comment. OP responds with, neither have I. I've considered so many explanations for the tampons that wouldn't implicate my husband, but none of them make sense really. I'm terrified to set up a camera if it means confirming what I suspect right now. There's another comment that says, has Fiona been over to your house and had time to plant the tampon? OP responds, she's been to our house many times and vice versa. To my knowledge, she wasn't over any time in the past week. So, if she planted that second tampon, she had to have had a window of time when I wasn't home. Anytime she and her husband visit, we all stay downstairs. And you'd have to go really out of your way to make it to our bedroom, i.e. around our dogs, over the safety gate, past the other bedrooms. Not saying it's impossible, but definitely tricky to do on a quick bathroom break, I would guess. Another relevant comment goes, how old are your kids? Could they have found a tampon and put it in a random place? That's actually a good one, because sometimes kids be doing goofy stuff. OP responds with 2 and almost 4. Both have a mischievous streak, so I didn't want to rule out the possibility of one of them moving stuff around, but I can't imagine how they get their hands on one. Possibly 2 random tampons that I never bought. That is a good point. It would be weird for the kids to be able to not only snag random tampons and be able to put them in your drawer for your socks. The kids are at 2, almost 4, they're not that tall. And from my imagining, I believe the sock drawer is usually at the top, or at least that's where I put my stuff. Like for my drawers, socks and undies, and then the rest are clothes. But that's potentially different for OP. But the mystery is still ongoing. No definite answers yet on this post, but I'm curious how it goes because there are 2 more updates to this story. And this second one looks a little bit longer than the first one. So let's get into it. The second update was from September the 20th, 2023, 18 days later. Contemplating every possible source of 2 tampons has been my personal hell for the past few weeks, but I wanted to share an update. Shortly after posting on here, I told my sister what happened. The tampon in the back seat and the sock drawer, my husband's cluelessness, the tampon from Fiona, and all the things I suspected but didn't want to believe. We compared tampons, save for the back seat one I had already discarded, and they were a match, just in different absorbencies. I hadn't left either in a place where my husband or daughters would have found them and moved them around. My daughters didn't know what they were or where they had come from. My sister was convinced it was Fiona, either fucking my husband, fucking with me, or both. Direct confrontation of either party still seemed like a bad idea, so she suggested inviting Fiona and her husband over for our Labor Day barbecue. Unfortunately, they already had plans. My sister and I agreed that it was too soon for cameras without any other evidence, so it was just a waiting game from there. Watching my husband for any changed behavior, there was none. Our house for any misplaced/foreign items, there were none. And even the girls for any new friends they might have met. My sister's husband was adamant on this last point, and partly why he was inclined to believe that the tampons were harmless. If anything had been happening in or around our home, he said, it would be nearly impossible to keep it from me and the girls, since my husband was the one taking them to and from daycare and most other activities during the week. I felt a good bit of consolation from that. It wasn't until my younger daughter, the 2-year-old, came down with something last week that I felt any differently. I wanted to be the one home taking care of her, but my husband insisted that I stay at work while he stayed home with her. I was okay with that. My sister and her husband figured it was a good sign that he would take the time off at a moment's notice, and at that point, we were all already beginning to put the tampon fiasco behind us. By the 3rd or 4th day, I was just happy to see a near healthy child and a husband who was helping see her through it. Toward the end of that week, though, I came home to something strange. The toddler that I left that morning in an old PJ set was now dressed in a onesie I'd never seen before, with a tiny clip in her hair. I can't say I have the sharpest memory, but I have a pretty good sense of what my kids wear on a day-to-day basis, and particularly what kind of clothes they wear. I'd sworn off the full-length sleeve suits with snaps across the front long before we ever had our second. The long snaps are just a pain in the ass and a no-go for efficient diaper changes, in my opinion. It's just not something I would dress her in, and my husband knows as much. He doesn't plan for or buy the girls' clothes, and he certainly doesn't accessorize them, so I was bewildered and kind of floored at the thought of someone around our sick child without my knowledge. I didn't think twice, and I went straight to my husband to ask if anyone had been over to see him or the girls. He seemed confused like before and asked me why I would think that. It had just been him and the kids all day. I asked him again if someone had so much as stopped by to say hello, and he denied it. He told me to calm down. I might have lashed out and came forward with the accusations right then and there, but our older daughter was in the room and she sensed something was up. In a calmer voice, I asked him a third time if anyone had been around our children, and my husband swore that the girls hadn't been around anyone but him. He also denied buying new clothes or doing anyone's hair. With our daughter in the room and my emotions all over the place, I decided to leave it. I couldn't make sense of it then, and it hardly seems clear now, after I've driven myself half crazy with explanations that aren't adding up. Yeah, this is definitely leaning towards the husband is cheating. Like there's no way that no one was around the kids, but yet one of them shows up in a brand new onesie and a hair accessory that you've never seen the husband do before. If the husband had said, "Oh, hey, yeah, I just decided to put her in the onesie because it was cold," or "I wanted to try something with the hair accessory," okay, cool. That would have been a solid reason. It would have been, like a weird moment probably about the onesie because the wife doesn't like the onesies. But the fact of like, "Oh, you wanted to customize her hair one time." Oh, okay, cool. That wouldn't have been an issue. But the fact that he's denying anything is happening, like denying that there is absolutely nothing going on at all, is some serious gaslighting. And I'm starting to lean towards the husband is cheating. Is he cheating with the neighbor? I don't think it's the neighbor, but it could be somebody else. Hopefully OP does install some cameras, because cameras would definitely solve this situation immediately. And whether or not she wants to believe her husband or not, the cameras will provide a solid answer to this mystery. There are some relevant comments. And also OP does a little edit that says, to answer a couple of questions. 1, my 2-year-old can only string together a couple of words at a time. And when I ask her about her time with daddy or her clothes/bow, she answers based on the cues I give her. Example, who gave you that pretty bow? And she repeats, pretty bow, back to me, or mama, daddy, over and over. The older daughter, almost 4, was at daycare that morning, and she can't recall anything different from that day. Doesn't remember the PJ change or the hair clip. So my guess is she was changed sometime that morning, but I'm not totally sure. Number 2, I have a 45-minute commute to work, so stopping by for lunch isn't really feasible. My sister has been kind enough to leave work and drive past a few times here and there, and she hasn't seen anything out of the ordinary. Number 3, we have a Ring camera at the front door, and I've got the app on my phone with notifications on. Nothing there yet. If anyone has recommendations for more discreet surveillance, I'd be open to it. I'm just the least tech-savvy person and worry another camera would be easy to detect, LOL. Edit. And yes, we get our carbon monoxide detectors tested regularly. I'm guessing that's to do with the potential side effects of delirious or confusion when it comes to carbon monoxide. One comment goes, is it possible one of the hair clips came from daycare? OP responds with, I could see the hair clip being a possibility, but less likely on the onesie. My younger daughter hadn't been to daycare in days, and if either of them had returned with something like that before, I would have noticed. Especially since it was the kind of onesie I hate with a passion. LOL. People comment that they can't wait to find out the ending to the saga. Okay, side note, why are you calling it a saga? Like, she is going crazy over this, and you're like, ooh, I can't wait to see how this ends. OP responds with, my money's on the Hollywood horror ending. Hopefully dreamed up the dogs too, so I can finally stop picking up their imaginary shits and whatnot. Hey, you know what? I ain't even mad at that one, because sometimes you don't want to pick up that doggy doo-doo. And this is why I prefer smaller dogs, because even though they also have doo-doo, it's a lot smaller, and, you know, I don't need a whole shovel and, you know, a couple of curls on the 45 dumbbells so I have enough muscle mass to pick up the huge load of dookie. Anyway, enough about the doo-doo discussion. Let's get to the final update. The final update was posted on October the 6th, 2023, 16 days later. After nearly losing my mind over a hair clip and a onesie, I realized I wasn't getting anywhere with the accusations and half-baked guesswork. I'd gotten so absorbed in the paranoia and misery of my situation that I wasn't sleeping, eating, or caring for my kids the way I should have been, and I wasn't getting any answers. So I decided to pull the trigger on the hidden cameras and have them shipped to my sister's house, with my brother-in-law agreeing to help with the install/setup over at mine. Before the cameras were ever delivered though, I got my long-awaited confirmation last week. Uh-oh. What's it gonna be? A ring notification had alerted me to motion at the front door while I was at work. Half expecting to see a delivery person, pet, or lawn care salesman for the 15th time, you can imagine my surprise when I saw a clip of a young woman leading my daughter into the house, hand in hand, with my husband and other daughter close behind them. The girls were supposed to be in daycare and my husband at work. The woman, as far as I knew, was living 2 states away on a court order keeping her there? Wait a minute. I immediately called my husband to ask him what the fuck this woman was doing in our house. He didn't answer, so I texted to him. Even in his stupidity, he probably realized he had messed up by going through the front door, knew I had gotten the ring notification, and wanted to delay the inevitable. By the 5th or 6th subsequent call though, he did pick up. The woman on the camera was my husband's sister. As I would come to find out later, she was likely the source of both tampons, the onesie, and the bow. She is also a registered sex offender and a recovering addict who spent the better part of her adolescence and young adulthood coercing the silence of another one of my husband's family members after she had molested them? Oh, okay. Did not see that coming. I hadn't seen or heard from her in years, and from the way my husband talked about her, I didn't expect I ever would. But here she was, in our house, with our children. Suffice to say I was livid. It wasn't an affair at all, and still somehow infinitely more disgusting knowing who it was and why all of this had been happening. Apparently my sister-in-law, fresh off another stint in rehab, had wanted to reconnect and make amends with people she'd hurt, and my husband was high on that list. My husband didn't want me to know, or worse, try to keep her family, our children, away from her, so they'd been meeting in secret, often at our house when I was at work. They would enter through the garage in my husband's car, so the ring camera at the front wouldn't tip me off. She spent the night on a weekend I had been on a business trip and slept in our bed. She babysat our girls on a night my husband told me he had dropped them off at his parents'? She brought the girls clothed and dressed my youngest in the onesie and bow that my husband had promised on his life I had dressed her in myself. My husband swore this was all in my head. The tampons, the onesie, the bow, and all the rest. He was perfectly content to watch me agonize for weeks over a woman he insisted didn't exist, shrugging off each progressively more unsettling discovery like it was news to him and telling me I was being irrational. He insinuated that I was experiencing postpartum depression 2 years after I'd given birth. 4 years after I told him that one of my biggest fears for motherhood was to suffer postpartum depression like my mother had with me. To not be fully present for our babies and be left with a world full of guilt and regret as they grew older. He told me I wasn't sleeping enough, that I missed the girls too much, that I needed to take a step back and reevaluate the state of my mental health. I gave him the benefit of the doubt because he was my husband, and because no other version of events made sense. Now, after a month of this mindfuck, I have nothing to show for my trust but this pathetic situation and a lot of anger. Wow, man. Wow, I was not expecting that twist. I was not expecting that twist at all. You know what? I'm glad it wasn't an affair. To be fair, I'm glad it's not an affair, but the fact that it's the husband's sister who has a very checkered past, and the husband has been lying and gaslighting and manipulating the wife. This is a bad look, man. This is a real bad look. I'm not surprised OP titled it 2 tampons may mean my marriage is over, because this is ridiculous. This is like, the paranoia would have been off the charts at this point because it's been weeks. Each update was about 2 to 3 weeks, or excuse me, not 2 to 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks in between. So she's been dealing with this kind of stress for over a month, only to find out that it's someone that wasn't supposed to be there and is a danger to children. Goodness gracious. This is an infuriating result. I can't believe the husband was not communicating with his wife. Hey, I'm bringing my sister over sometimes because she's out of rehab and yada yada yada. But instead he tried to lie about it and just try to just gaslight his wife to near insanity. It's crazy. I think there needs to be a serious discussion between OP and the husband about whether or not they are comfortable even continuing this. And there is one relevant comment that says, call the cops and a lawyer. And OP says, already on it. Believe me, we're going scorched earth with this motherfucker. Oh man, I'm not even mad at OP. I'm not even mad at OP. This was a terrible twist. Oh man, this is why you communicate. This is why you communicate in a relationship. So weird, terrible situations like this don't happen. If the husband had told OP and was very upfront about, like, hey, I brought my sister over, you know, she got out of rehab and she's trying to be better. Okay, fine. Tell me next time she comes over because I'm not comfortable. Right? That probably would have been the conversation. Or OP would have voiced her displeasure and say, oh hey, I don't want her around at all. And you know, they would have to continue discussing it, but it has to be a team effort on that. To do something like this, and the person in question is a I'll use the term Diddy delinquent. A Diddy delinquent is not when you hide your secrets. This is not when you hide your motives. So whatever OP decides to do, I understand. That is the end of this update. That is the end of the story. If you could do me a favor and like, comment on the video, share the video to your friends, subscribe, and click on that bell so you get future notifications about every video I post. It would help me a lot. And if you want to help the algorithm, you can watch another one of my videos. I actually like when you guys watch my videos and leave comments and genuinely give your opinion, because it helps me become a better creator and it helps me understand your perspective. While, this is my channel and, I'm the host and everything, but you guys' opinions matter as well. You might not have liked this story. You might have thought this story was great. You might have thought this was one of the best of all time. Either way, I still want to hear your opinions. I care about you guys. I want you guys to know I care about you guys. And I care about where this channel goes forward because I'm bringing you with me. I hope that you guys all had happy Thanksgiving, happy Black Friday, and a cool Cyber Monday. I didn't buy anything in particular this year. I didn't really need anything this year, but I know that this time of the year, it usually gets hectic because of Black Friday and because of Christmas shopping, which I just reminded myself that I do in fact need to do Christmas shopping, and I probably should have done that on Black Friday or Cyber Monday. I am human. Just like each and every single one of you beautiful people. But I will put the kibosh on this one by saying, as always, stay safe and have a great day.